Hi class, in this video I'm going to walk you through a few examples about the square root property. I have 3 steps on the far side in the green box that we're going to follow each time. It's going to sound really similar to the steps that we use to solve radical equations. We are going to first isolate the squared term, then we're going to take the square root of both sides and then solve for the variable. Okay, first let's talk about the squared term. That term is the term or the number or the letter where the exponent 2 is connected. And so in this problem, n squared is that term. And so we're going to isolate it, which means to get alone. So the first thing is to subtract 4. Then we have n squared equals 36. Step number 2 says take the square root of both sides. So when we talk about the square root of 36, we talk about the principal root, which the square root of 36 we would say is positive 6. But there's also a negative root associated with the square root of 36. And we know that because the exponent is a 2, that means there are 2 answers. And so this answer is actually going to be positive 6 and negative 6. You could also write your answer plus minus 6. All right, we're going to do the same thing. I want you to notice here that only the v is the term being squared. And so right now 25 is being multiplied by v squared. So this time we will divide. This is v squared equals 1 over 25. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, again, there's going to be a positive answer and a negative answer. This is going to be v is positive 1/4 and negative 1/4. In this question, x squared is the squared term, so everything else we will move to the other side. We'll subtract 9. This is 5x squared equals 5. Divide both sides by 5. X squared equals 1. At this step, we'll take the square root of both sides, and x equals positive 1 and negative 1. Like I said, you can also write it plus or minus 1. Okay, let's continue. This one again, the x squared is the squared term. So we'll add 2 to both sides. 2x squared equals 8. Divide both sides by 2. X squared equals 4. And then to finish this problem, we need to take the square root of both sides. And x equals positive 2 or negative 2. Okay, we have another x squared as the term being squared. So let's subtract 8 from both sides. X squared equals 20. Now we'll take the square root of both sides. Okay, this is x equals, we'll say plus or minus the square root of 20, but from previous lessons, we can simplify 20 by making a factor tree. So 20 is 4 times 5, so it's 2 times 2 times 5. So the most correct answer would be plus or minus 2 square roots of 5. All right. In this problem, the n squared is the term being squared, so we'll divide both sides by 16. N squared equals 49 over 16. I hope you recognize that both of those are perfect square numbers. So we are ready to take the square root of both sides. So this will be n equals plus or minus. And then remember, one big radical equals 2 small radicals. And so this could be plus or minus 7 over 4. Anytime I put plus or minus, you could also write them separately, positive 7/4 and negative 7/4. Either answer format is okay. All right, these last 2 problems are slightly different because this time the entire squared term is actually a binomial. Okay, so this is x plus 4, and so we cannot subtract 4 from both sides. This problem is actually ready to take the square root. So we'll draw a square root over both sides. And just like before, the squared and the radical symbol will cancel, and that leaves us with x plus 4 equals, now the square root of 16 is 2 answers, a positive and a negative 4. We still need to solve for x, but I strongly encourage you to break this into 2 separate problems. We have x plus 4 equals positive 4 and x plus 4 equals negative 4. And then solve each of those equations separately. This is minus 4, which will give us x equals 0. And when we subtract 4 over here, we have x equals negative 8. So notice that these are not the same numbers, okay, but these are the same answers. If you were typing this into WebAssign, you can just put 0, comma, negative 8. All right, let's try that one more time. Same concept, this y minus 3 is the term being squared. So you can go ahead and start with taking the square root. The square root of y minus 3 squared is y minus 3. And then the square root of 8 is some decimal, so we're going to just leave it as plus or minus the square root of 8. Again, I want you to separate it into two separate equations. Okay, this is the y minus 3 equals positive 8. You don't really need that positive sign there. I think I'll erase it. And then y minus 3 equals negative square root of 8. We'll add 3 to both sides. So this is the square root of 8 plus 3. And over here, this is the negative square root of 8 plus 3. Very similar answers, but we're not quite done. Up here in this upper right-hand corner, I'm going to make a factor tree of 8. This is 2 and 4, 2 and 2. So you can see that there's 2 of the same number under 8, so we can simplify it. So the best answer, we could say plus or minus 2 square roots of 2, because that's what the square root of 8 simplifies to be, plus 3. And that would be the correct answer. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out to me and contact me. Stop by my office. I'd love to help you some more. Thanks. Have a great day.